Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to our workshop today on the root cause of your memory loss, which is inflammation. So we're going to talk about what symptoms you have and how to treat them, and really how to figure out if inflammation is the root cause of your memory loss. This is a workshop. You can sit back and listen if you want, but you really want to change. And if you're sick and tired of the embarrassment that comes from memory issues, like forgetting a thought in the middle of a sentence or word, you should take part and create this action plan for yourself. You'll be much better off if you actually participate. All right, what we're going to do today is go through the major factors that are creating inflammation in your brain and making you have memory lapses. And we're going to figure out which ones you need to work on personally. I'll give you suggestions as we go, and we're going to have those, we're going to ask you to make changes to your lifestyle, but I'll need you to please check with your doctor in your individual case as to what solutions you should do. Everyone is different, and the solution will be different for everyone. I'm here as an educator, not your personal doctor. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to go through how to tell if inflammation is a source of your memory issues. We're going to see what it is and how to measure inflammation. We'll talk about how inflammation destroys your memory and your hormones, and specifically the memory hormone pregnanolone and how inflammation plays a role there. We'll talk about what increases inflammation in the brain, and then finally we'll go through some fixes and fill out your action plan so you know what to do next. And this includes talking about how to activate stem cell growth in your memory sector to actually regrow the hippocampus, which is your memory sector. This is where it gets really exciting. So first, who am I? I'm a neuroscience and brain health educator, and my mission is to help 1 million people make a measurable improvement in their memories. To date, I've helped over 113,000 people that have attended my last workshop, How to Improve Your Memory in 30 Days or Less. I've helped countless others from podcasts, speaking engagements. I have over 45,000 copies in distribution of my popular book, The Brain Owner's Manual, 3 simple solutions to quickly boosting your memory. Through our company, with Russell and I, Simple Smart Science, we have memory boosting supplements, monthly newsletters, and coaching programs, all to help educate and heal the failing memory. So why is this so important to me? Well, about 5 or 6 years ago, my beloved aunt got diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And for those of you that have heard me speak before, you know how close I am to my family. I talk so much about my dad and my mom. She went from being so vibrant to not remembering me after 1 year, and my dad after 2, and her own kids after 3 years. The devastation financially and emotionally was just heartbreaking. And around the same time as her diagnosis, my brother had a heart attack at the ripe young age of 44, and it's rampant in my family. And the statins, the prescription drugs he had to take, wreaked havoc on his memory. I was going through a depression from learning the man I was with for 3 years was a pathological liar, and he actually confessed to me one night that not only did he not have cancer that he supposedly struggled with for 2 out of the 3 years we were together, but he was actually on the FBI's most wanted list for bank robbers. I turned him in and went on a downward depression spiral. For those of you that have experienced depression, you know how bad it affects your memory. But as life does, it showed my brother and I a solution. We met a neurologist that was working on a formula to boost your memory, and together with a group of scientists, we created our very first formula for Mind Boost Day. So it's an ongoing passion for me because I see it happening to everyone around me that I love. My mom, who just turned 77, is starting to have memory issues. And I firmly believe it's not dementia, and I'm excited to go to Denver next month and work with her one-on-one to improve it. I want to stop memory problems in the aging population and in those in my age group, because you can make your brain better. You're not stuck with it. You're not stuck with the brain you have. You're not stuck on this trajectory, but it takes work. You have to be motivated. I like to ask myself, is this good for my brain if I'm about to make a bad decision, like drinking too much wine or eating that extra piece of pizza? With a better brain, everything is better. Your health is better, your money is better because you're motivated and you have more energy, and because you make better decisions. Your brain is the cockpit for your whole life. And I want to help you on the road to being less irritable, more focused, happier, more energetic, and have a memory that is sharp as a tack. And we're going to do that together today. So I want to dive right in and figure out if inflammation is the source of your memory issues. So I'm going to talk in a minute about how to actually measure the inflammation in your brain, but let's start with a few questions. So I want you to take out your worksheet, and I want you to mark next to each question that I'm about to ask you if you can answer yes to that question. At the end, we're going to count how many yeses we have. So first, are you struggling with sugar or carb cravings? Are you having a difficult time shedding those last 10, 20, or 100 pounds even? Do you ever struggle with digestive issues such as diarrhea, constipation, bloating, gas, IBS? What about low energy levels? Have you ever followed a low-fat diet? Do you cook in vegetable oil? Do you sometimes push yourself too hard at the gym? Do you have a food sensitivity or an allergy? Do you have arthritis? Do you have chronic back pain? Do you have fibromyalgia? Do you have sensitive gums? Do you drink more than 6 drinks, meaning 4 ounces per drink a week? Do you have a hard time sleeping more than once a month? Do you smoke? All right, go ahead and count your yeses. If you answered yes to any one of these questions, then you probably have some chronic inflammation going on that needs to heal in order for your health to improve and your memory to get better. Nearly everyone today living is in a state of chronic inflammation unless you've taken the measures to do something about it. Most of us have eaten low-fat diets for the last 30 years, even if we didn't want to, just based upon what was available to us at the time. Intentionally or not, almost all of us have consumed processed foods, vegetable oils, and trans fats more than our bodies would like. So is there anyone that got 0? If so, congrats. Let's see, anybody? I'm not seeing any here, but congratulations if you did, but I recommend you still being here because you should do everything to prevent inflammation, and you'll still benefit from learning how to activate stem cell growth in your hippocampus to be smarter. So as you can see, almost everyone has inflammation, and there are 2 types of inflammation, acute and chronic. Acute is when you cut yourself and the inflammation comes on, and chronic is what most of us have in our bodies. You can get a blood test for this, but for this, I'm just going to assume that most everyone has inflammation because most everyone does. If you have inflammation in any part of your body, you have it in your brain and memory, period. This study from Ohio State University showed that the short-term memory loss, the memory loss you have today, the memory loss that is so frustrating, is linked directly to brain inflammation. Most memory loss is inflammation in nature. Patients with chronic inflammation conditions in the US spend approximately $38,000 more on additional expenditures each year. So, what is inflammation? Inflammation is swelling of the brain tissue and blood vessels. This swelling affects the production of hormones and other neurotransmitters in your brain and makes everything move much slower. Neurotransmitters carry information in your brain, so without inflammation, they move like a sports car carrying their passengers down the Autobahn. You know, the Autobahn without traffic, has a lot of traffic these days. With information, it slows everything down, and they're like a horse and a buggy. You're going nowhere fast. Inflammation lowers the level of serotonin, which can lead to feelings of depression and anxiety, and again, problems with memory. It prevents melatonin from being produced, which causes insomnia, which greatly affects your memory. We'll talk about that later. It slows down the firing between neurons. So let's take a look at neurons and see what happens. So when information passes between your neurons, it's called a synapse. So you'll see this information passing between these two neurons. And every single time it fires, it leaves a little bit of trash. And this trash accumulates and it becomes toxic if you don't clear it out. Just like a dirty wound, it becomes inflamed if you don't clean it. So we'll also be talking today about how to clear out that toxic trash when we go through the fixes for your brain inflammation. What's interesting is that inflammation in the brain starts decades before the problem arises. A study published in 2017 in the Journal of Neurology found that having certain inflammatory markers in midlife was associated with brain shrinkage and poor memory in older age. So I can't talk about memory without talking about the hormone of memory called pregnanolone. It's called the mother of all hormones. It makes estrogen, progesterone, and cortisol, the hormone of stress. You can think of pregnanolone as a tree. When you cut down the tree, you can build tables and chairs and instruments and houses and even paper, the paper you're writing on. But without the tree, you would have none of these things. Pregnanolone is the tree, and the paper and the houses are the other hormones. It is the starting material in making progesterone, cholesterol, estrogen, and other hormones. In the memory sector, it plays a pivotal role in both laying down the memories in the first place and then preventing their loss by directly protecting the nerve networks that store them and enhancing nerve transmission and memory. So pregnanolone declines with age. At 75, most people have 65% less pregnanolone than compared with age 35. Some of the causes of decline in pregnanolone are aging, of course, eating too much saturated fat and trans fats, low cholesterol levels, hypothyroidism, pituitary tumors, having a severe illness, and of course, most of all, inflammation, which is what we're focusing on today. So why does this happen? Why is so much inflammation in our bodies and our brains? We're going to go through the 3 biggest reasons in this workshop why we have a chronic problem with inflammation. So let's take our worksheet out and write these down. Under the section where it asks for the first reason for inflammation contributing to your memory problems, write this: stress. By far, stress is one of the main causes of inflammation. And I'm talking about stress of the body physically from injury, brain injury at any point in life can cause long-term inflammation, or disease or illness, or even pushing it too hard for your body at the gym. I'm also talking about environmental stresses, water, polluted water, noise. Frankly, while I was working on this workshop, there was a dog that barked for 6 hours straight. I had to put on my headphones and blare my Mozart. That was noise pollution. Regular pollution, metallics in our body like mercury. And I'm also talking about life stressors like working too much, relationship stressors, too little money, one of the main stressors around the world. I recently read that 69% of Americans have less than $1,000 in total savings, and 34% have no savings at all. That's stress. You've probably heard of the hormone cortisol. Most people think that stress equals cortisol, but that's actually not quite right. The hormone cortisol is released when we're stressed, and that's a great thing. Cortisol is extremely important to our bodies. We would die in 7 days without cortisol. It's the excess stress that creates the excess cortisol, and that's bad, very bad. Most people have excess stress, but well, what is it? Well, we've all heard of the analogy, of a gazelle in the jungle, and it's at a normal cortisol level when it's grazing, but then all of a sudden a lion attacks and its adrenal gland shoots up adrenaline and then cortisol, and this makes it so he can breathe faster and move the oxygen to his muscles and his brain so he can think faster, gives him more energy, but it also shuts down all unnecessary systems. It shuts down the reproductive system, the immune system, even your digestive system, among other things. You just don't need them to get away from the lion. But then once the lion is worn out, the gazelle simply doesn't need that much cortisol, and so that decreases, and the gazelle goes back to a balanced state. Well, us, as stressed out humans, have this amazing ability and capacity to continue this flight mode even if there's nothing really threatening our lives. And decades of this, and don't fool yourself into thinking you don't have this, as our modern society is ramp with chronic stress. It creates degrading amounts of cortisol. Your body will make cortisol above all other hormones. So your pregnanolone, remember your mother hormone and memory hormone, will make cortisol before anything else. And that even depletes your levels of the pregnanolone. So your pregnanolone could be at a level 5 if you were to measure it, which is very low due to your body making so much cortisol due to stress, which means it can't make the other hormones. When you have too much stress, your blood sugar's up, your cholesterol is up, your immune system becomes compromised, thyroid becomes dysfunctional, because your body is trying to keep up the production of cortisol and doesn't have the bandwidth to make the other hormones. So think of it like building a house. If you use more of a material on one side of the house and less on the other side, or a different material on the other side, say you have metal beams every 3 inches on one side and wood beams every 10 feet on the other side, it's off balance. Maybe it can stand for decades, but eventually the foundation will crumble and the side of the house has a heavy material that wasn't made to support it will fall. And even if it doesn't fall, you could have structural issues like leaky pipes or cracked ceilings, or the floors become unbalanced or slanted. Without the correct balance of hormones in your body, it starts to crumble, just like the foundation of a house. So, how are stress and inflammation related? Cortisol actually helps reduce inflammation in the body, which is a little bit opposite of what we think about. But hyper levels of cortisol in our bodies alters the effectiveness of cortisol to regulate inflammation because it decreases our sensitivity to cortisol. So you can think of it like drinking coffee, which is extremely inflammatory, by the way. If you have 6 cups a day, you don't notice the effects of caffeine, of drinking all that caffeine. But then go ahead and stop for a year and have a cup of coffee. You'll feel the effects almost immediately, and it won't taste very good. I stopped drinking coffee 7 years ago, and although I still love the smell, it makes me sick to my stomach and so jittery. You just become desensitized to the level of caffeine when you drink that much of it. Well, inflammation works the same way. It stops responding to cortisol when you have too much cortisol. Balance is the name of the game. So let's talk about what it does to your memory sector, the hippocampus. The hippocampus produces a hormone that actually combats the cortisol and lowers the cortisol levels. They're self-balancing. But with too much cortisol, the hippocampus, which is only about the size of your thumbs, can't make enough of this cortisol fighter. So in turn, it means there's more cortisol, which in turn means that your hippocampus makes even less of the fighter hormone. It's a downward spiral. And the main victim, your memory, because that excess cortisol will eat away at your hippocampus. The good news is we can measure your stress chemical cortisol with just a saliva test. You can order a 4 or 5 panel test online for, I don't know, just about $100 on Amazon, or you can go to your doctor and do a blood panel. The really great news is if it's not normal, we can normalize it in every single person. Every single person. And if your memory is lagging, this is the best place to start. Measure your cortisol and get it in check. The balance levels will make us more sensitive to the cortisol and will help fight the inflammation in your body. In the worksheet, there's a place to put your beginning cortisol levels if you decide to do a test. Do another test 30 days after implementing the suggestions I'm going to make here in a little bit. The other thing about cortisol that's really important is that it affects the blood sugar and the hormone insulin. And research worldwide now, when we look at memory loss, is focusing on the hormone insulin. There are insulin receptors in your brain, and as a result, if you have too much insulin or too little, it can negatively impact your memory. But I want to set some expectations. It takes a long time to balance cortisol. People need to understand that it can take 1 to 2 years to normalize your cortisol levels for a stressful person. But inflammation gets tamed a lot faster, in some cases in as little as 30 days. Of course, there are many natural ways to reduce your stress. So let's just hop right in to the stress reducers. The first is meditation, yoga, prayer, breathing techniques. They're all great. We even have a stress-busting meditation that we sell that's been proven to reduce your stress in just 20 minutes with binaural beats. We sell it on our website, but don't go there right now. Stay with me. I'll send you links to everything I talk about after the workshop via email. I often hear, I don't have time to meditate or do stress reduction techniques. I like to say that if you can't find 10 minutes to meditate or even just breathe, you need to spend an hour meditating. Exercise is one of the best ways to reduce your cortisol levels, and it has been shown to improve your memory. But not just any exercise. You want coordination exercises like dancing or high intensity training. Sprint for 30 to 60 seconds and then go normal for 5 to 10 minutes. Or for a couple of minutes, and do this for 5 to 10 minutes instead of 30 minutes just sitting on a bike. Strength training, very important. The stronger you are as you age, it increases blood flow. It also increases blood to your cerebellum, which makes judgment and decision making easier. So why should you do this? Yes, it's about improving your memory. It's about improving your health. But more than that, this is about love. You're going to do this because you love your life, because you love your children and you love your spouse and you love your friends. That's why you're going to do this. To accelerate the process, you can supplement with natural herbs called adaptogens. They're things like rhodiola rosea, ginseng, ashwagandha are all great for when your cortisol levels are too high or even too low. They're called adaptogens because they adapt to what the body needs. Calming herbs like lemon balm and chamomile are also great. Of course, being a supplement company, we have those herbs in our Mind Boost Day and our Mind Boost Night. But again, don't go there. You can check those out later after the workshop. Most importantly, your memory hormone pregnanolone will be balanced if your cortisol is balanced. So let's move on to the other flame starters, the inflammation starters, so that you can reduce it and improve your memory. I'm going to quickly touch on sleep. But as we've all heard a million times before, I'm not going to harp on it. Sleep is critical for your memory. When you sleep, your memories actually consolidate or stick. So it's important to get quality sleep. That doesn't mean you're in bed for 8 hours and you wake up every single hour. Quality is actually more important than the quantity, but both are very, very important. Over 72 different studies have shown too little or even too much sleep resulted in increased inflammation levels. Remember when I talked about that trash that builds up in your neurons? Every time you have a thought, the electrical impulses, and that thought creates a little trash. That trash causes inflammation. Well, when you sleep is actually when that trash gets cleaned out. When you don't get enough sleep, your brain hasn't had the chance to clean out all that garbage, so it just accumulates and creates inflammation. A lack of sleep also impairs your immune system, which means your body can't fight that inflammation. So go ahead and add sleep on your worksheet as the second most important habit to put first to fight inflammation. Now, I want to address the most exciting science around improving your memory, and that is with stem cell activation, which in itself puts out those flame starters, the inflammation in your brain. This is my favorite area to teach. I get so excited I almost start vibrating when I talk about it. So let's talk about what stem cell regeneration is. First, we're always creating stem cells. Many people still have this old belief that stem cells is using stem cells from another human embryo, but that's really old science and not true anymore. They are now able to create and retrieve adult stem cells for studying. Stem cells are these magic little cells that can turn into any other cell. When we think of cells, we usually think of skin cells or blood cells. A stem cell can decide to be either one of those. Stem cells are different than all your other cells for two reasons. First, they're unspecialized, meaning they can become tissue or organs for specific cells for specific reasons, like what I just talked about. Second, they can renew themselves through cell division, even sometimes after long periods of inactivity. They can just sit there for years and all of a sudden divide and create more stem cells. So what does this mean for you? They can serve as an internal repair system, essentially dividing without limit to replenish other cells. The possibilities of this are incredible. Imagine being able to regenerate a heart or a lung out of your own cells, making donors totally unnecessary. They already have a skin gun that takes a burn victim's own stem cells and is able to spray those cells on the burns to grow new skin instead of having to use skin grafts from other animals. Imagine being able to regenerate a brain or a memory after Alzheimer's. This isn't science fiction. Clinical trials are in works on all these right now. So what about stem cell rejuvenation, inflammation, and your memory, or specifically your hippocampus? The hippocampus creates stem cells. In fact, it's the primary region of the brain that creates new brain cells in a process called neurogenesis. So, your hippocampus is so important for your memories. It's critical to creating new brain cells for your whole brain, and when it comes to your hippocampus as well as your whole brain, bigger is better. A healthy hippocampus makes up to 700 new brain cells every single day. I think of them as 700 baby cells. So it's important to do things in your life that encourage these little babies to survive and thrive like you would a newborn, and to avoid the things that kill them off. If you love yourself, if you want to love your little baby brain cells, ask yourself, am I really taking care of the part of me that is so special? It holds the treasure chest of my most precious memories. And are these bad decisions I'm making really worth losing those moments? There are many things that contribute to the hippocampus creating less than optimal amounts of stem cells. We've already talked about your hormones, neurohormones, very important. When they're low, your hippocampus dies. Get your hormones measured. We've also talked about how cortisol slowly erodes the hippocampus and the relationship of inflammation to cortisol, but there's a direct relationship of inflammation to the hippocampus. Inflammation causes the hippocampus to slow its production of stem cells and even create neural stem cell dysfunction. The hippocampus is so very sensitive to neuroinflammation. Think about that for a minute. First, we have these little hippocampi. They store all of our memories and make it so we can learn. And they create a hormone to combat cortisol. And finally, they make new baby stem cells. And then we have the excess cortisol that comes in and eats away your hippocampus and creates inflammation. And then that same inflammation slows the production of stem cells. So your brain is shrinking away faster than it's growing. It's a recipe for disaster and dementia and Alzheimer's, if I'm going to be a little frank. But we can change that recipe. And that's what I want to do for you today. But a recipe isn't just a list of ingredients, it's also how you put them together. So we're going to take this in two parts. We're going to give you the ingredients to reducing inflammation, and then we're going to show you how to blend them all together so that you can combat your own inflammation. First, the ingredients of this inflammation busting recipe. Fill this out in your worksheet. I want you to write down what they are, and then circle the ones you're going to do. We've covered a few already, but I want to reiterate them and go through a few more. So we have meditate or pray or breathe deeply multiple times a day. We want to reduce our lifestyle stresses through preparation and learning to say no to over-obligating yourself, completely changing your life if it's financial stress, and getting help if it's relationship stress. We want to reduce the environmental stressors, get a water filter, check for mold. This is a big problem with Alzheimer's. We want to reduce noise pollution and you can move if you have to, and lead reduction. Did you know that 60% of lipsticks have lead? There's an app called Think Dirty where you can scan your household items and you can see what toxins are in them. Get the app, it's great. Sleep, find any way to get quality sleep. My husband will tell you I'm a sleep Nazi and will put it before everything else in my life. Take adaptogens like our Mind Boost Day and Mind Boost Night. Drink more water. Take saunas. A new study showed that people who took the most saunas had the lowest risk of dementia. Get any head trauma checked out. No one talks about this, but it's clearly a risk factor. For so many brain diseases, 80%, I'm sure you've heard of Dr. Daniel Amen, 80% of his patients with brain trauma show results in as little as 2 months when he works with them. Be preventative. Don't let your kids play contact sports like football. It's just not smart. Most people have no memory of any brain trauma, but on brain scans they can actually see it, and it's a major cause of depression, suicide, homelessness, addiction, pedophilia, schizophrenia. Get your brain checked out. Infections are a major cause of memory problems, and little is known about them. Lyme disease, so many diseases. If you're at risk at having memory problems, someone should do an infectious panel to make sure you're not at war with some invader like Lyme disease or the bacteria from even cat feces. Herpes or cold sores increases the risk of significant memory problems by 20%. That means a third of the population. I even get cold sores. And the last of our inflammation starters is so important that I'm going to elaborate on it. And it's a two-parter. It's food. Food is one of the best ways to naturally combat inflammation and even cortisol. So let's go into detail here. I want to first talk about a very specific diet that is showing remarkable results at reactivating stem cells as well as reducing cortisol and inflammation, and that's fasting. Now, not starvation fasting, a food mimicking fast. There's a great book by Dr. Walter Longo called The Longevity Diet that goes into extreme details about a 5-day food mimicking fast. More than 5 days and you don't really see additional benefits, less and you don't go into stem cell rejuvenation. I'll give you the short details here. Straight fasts are very hard to do. In fact, it took Dr. Longo 5 years to complete one study because it was so hard to get people to comply. So he came up with the fast that you actually eat food, and he calls it the food mimicking fast. And it had the exact same results. So here's how it works. In the first couple days, your body goes into a state of ketosis, and your cells go through this ultra-protective mode. In fact, this is why fasting along with chemotherapy has 60% better results than chemotherapy alone. It's because your cells protect themselves from the poisonous chemo, but the cancer cells don't protect themselves, and so they get destroyed with the chemo, but not your healthy cells. Then on days 4 and 5, you activate stem cell regeneration, and this is truly remarkable. They've seen amazing results with autoimmune disorders, and they're already seeing great results with preliminary studies with Alzheimer's patients. So here are some of the results from the clinical trials. The fasting mimicking diet helps maintain healthy levels of fasting blood glucose and blood pressure, as well as the C-reactive protein, triglycerides, and stem cells. It reduces excess fat while maintaining body mass, which is important. It trims your waistline with focused weight loss from visceral fat in the abdominal area. It promotes stem cell-based rejuvenation or renewal, and it also triggers apoptosis and autophagy in order for your body to clean up all that old and damaged tissue, including in your brain. You gain focus and mental clarity, and you can even enjoy softer, smoother skin, and it greatly improves your energy. But the most exciting part of this study is with longevity. Societies around the world that include fasting and many animal studies have shown remarkable increases in longevity. I recommend you check out Dr. Longo's book and consult with a physician if you're going to incorporate fasting into your lifestyle. For me, I'm going to do it twice a year for the rest of my life. And it's not hard, especially when you actually get to eat something. Again, I'll send a link to Dr. Longo's book on how to do the 5-day fast mimicking diet in an email after this. But I wanted to introduce you to the idea of fasting because it's very individualized. It'd be too difficult for me to lay out the details here. You know, it's based upon your age and your current weight. If you want it super simple, he sells a 5-day food fast kit where you don't even have to think about it. You just order it and he sends you the food. I'll send a link to that later too. So that's the first part of the recipe. But let's go into more detail about the foods that are highly inflammatory. I'm going to list them and have you fill them out in your worksheet, so get that out. What I want you to do is circle the foods you're willing to cut out, or at least cut back on after this workshop is over, to reduce inflammation and improve your memory. Now here are the ingredients. First one is coffee. I already talked about this one, but coffee is inflammatory. I recommend getting rid of it altogether and just drink green tea, which is anti-inflammatory. There are lots of conflicting reports about coffee, and the caffeine can be beneficial. Caffeine's in green tea too, but coffee increases your stress hormones. The stress response elicits cortisol and increases insulin. Insulin increases inflammation, and this makes you feel lousy. We know what inflammation does now. Also, saturated fats like pizza, cheese, and bread, red meats, and pasta dishes. Sugar, this includes honey, high fructose corn syrup. Trans fats like donuts, fried products, processed foods, frozen foods, and margarine. Don't eat margarine. And of course, fast food. Excess omega-6 fatty acids. These are essential for your body, but you need a healthy balance. Excess omega-6s comes from corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, grapeseed oil, soy, peanut oil, vegetable oil, mayonnaise, and many salad dressings. You also want to stay away from refined carbohydrates like bread, rice, crackers, potatoes, French fries. MSG, which is monosodium glutamate, is a flavor enhancer, and it's a food additive usually found in Asian dishes like soy sauce, but it can also be added to soups and soup mixes and salad dressings and even deli meats. For some people, gluten can be extremely inflammatory, especially those with celiac disease or even joint pain. Aspartame, this non-nutritional, intense artificial sweetener is found in more than 4,000 products worldwide. It's approved by the FDA, but the studies on its effects are mixed. So if you're sensitive to this chemical, your immune system may react to the foreign substance by attacking the chemical, which in return will trigger an inflammatory response. Just cut out the sodas altogether. No need. I haven't had a soda in probably 20 years. Alcohol. I know that we often talk about how 1 to 2 glasses of red wine a night is okay. And then a study came out recently that said that 0 alcohol is best. That counters many other studies. But regardless of your thoughts on this subject, all alcohol is inflammatory, no matter the quantity. If you're dealing with memory loss and inflammation, it's best to cut it out, at least for a while, just to determine if that's the problem. Bacon, canned soup. So take out your worksheet and circle 1 or 2 of these that you're going to take out. You can take out 1 food at a time for 1 or 2 weeks. See how it affects your cortisol and inflammation levels. If you're not going to do the testing, simply just keep track of how you're feeling and take the memory test that we're going to send you in the follow-up email as well. Take it before you cut out the food and then again after you've cut out the food for a couple weeks. Okay, so now let's get into the really fun stuff. What foods and nutrients combat inflammation to the point that you can reduce your inflammation in 30 days or less? Don't forget, this is a recipe, so you're going to have to do a combination of removing the inflammatory foods and adding the anti-inflammatory foods to get the real lasting results. And these changes are for life. That doesn't mean you can never have pizza again, but maybe just once every 3 weeks or a month instead of once or twice a week. Does that make sense? Hope so. If you guys are still with me, say hi, say hi to Russell in the chat. Okay, so here's your list of the best anti-inflammatory foods that should be included in every diet. And some of these should be included every single day. I'll make sure to mention those. Again, write down in your worksheet and circle the ones you're going to start incorporating. So first one's coconut oil. A study published in the Journal of Pharmaceutical Biology showed that virgin coconut oil has anti-inflammatory properties. I cook with it. It's great for massages. I put it in my smoothies for that extra fat. There have been some incredible studies with Alzheimer's patients around helping to restore their memories and their abilities. Now, there haven't been any concrete studies on non-Alzheimer's patients, but even simply for its anti-inflammatory nature, coconut oil is a remarkable product. Get it. Get organic though. Green leafy vegetables like spinach or kale, collard greens, bok choy, they taste great with a little of that sauteed olive oil. I like to do that. Eat some every day. Olive oil is another great one. I like cooking with this one as well. Everyone warns about the bad side of cheap olive oil. So even though I haven't seen any studies around this myself, I usually go for the higher quality, like Greek olive oil. Besides, it just tastes better. Nuts. Nuts are very important and they don't get enough credit. They have all the good fat that we need and they're very anti-inflammatory. I love having a handful of nuts at snack time, and yes, with full salt. I cook almost every meal at home and I never eat processed foods, so I'm not worried about my salt intake. But that is another one that could destroy your memory, so watch your salt. But the thing about nuts is that because they have a very high fat content, which is very good for you, it's also high in calories, so stick with just a small handful every day. The next one is my favorite, berries like strawberries, blueberries, which is truly a superfood, one that you should eat at least a few times a week, if not every single day. Cherries, raspberries, blackberries, black currants. One exciting research development, there was a study at Ohio University that found that black raspberries, which I never really had heard of before, reduce the incidence of certain cancers in animals by as much as 50%. Fatty fish like salmon or mackerel or tuna, sardines. Ginger, I put a teaspoon of ginger in my daily smoothie. It's such a great smell and it cuts the flavor of the spinach and the broccoli, so I just don't taste them. Green tea, I mentioned this one in my coffee rant, but it is so beneficial. I just have to say it again. Just drink tea, green tea, period. Pineapples. Sometimes I get bouts of vertigo, and people have told me they swear by eating pineapple to get rid of the vertigo. I know how to do the head movements, so I haven't tried the pineapple, but I do know it's anti-inflammatory. My personal favorite, dark chocolate. If you want to stick with 75% and above dark chocolate, I usually treat myself with 20 grams, which is about 2 squares of the dark chocolate, sometimes a little bit more. Chia and flax seeds. Again, these go great with my smoothies. And since I keep talking about my daily smoothies, I'll send you the recipe to that in the follow-up email as well. Turmeric. Be sure to buy a high quality turmeric and one with bioprene so that it actually gets absorbed into your body, or better yet, just cook with it. It is delicious. Let's see, I hate to even mention it, but I will for acute cases. Ibuprofen. It is anti-inflammatory. And the reason I mention it, even though I don't like taking any drugs, is that even if I start to feel a little sick, when you get that pressure right here, that sinus tightening, that you're getting ready to get a cold, I take 2 ibuprofen and I go take a nap for as long as I possibly can, and I don't get sick. Up until this year, I didn't get sick for 4 years, not even a slight cold. And I only got sick this year because I didn't have ibuprofen and I was so stressed and I didn't take a nap. Lesson learned and method proved. So some herbs are great. Rosemary, thyme, cloves, cinnamon, oregano, sage. Shiitake mushrooms are great. Beans like chickpeas, black beans, red kidney beans, lentils. Okay, I could go on and on, but I want to make sure to have time to talk about the most important anti-inflammatory nutrient that almost every neurologist recommends to be taken daily. The absolute best way to combat inflammation and improve your memory is to take a high quality pharmaceutical grade of omega-3 with high levels of DHA. And I'll tell you how and what to buy in just a second. But just know it's very hard to get a good omega-3, as there's so many components to look for. We've learned in recent years that fatty acids are among the most crucial molecules that determines your brain's integrity and ability to perform. Low levels of omega-3 fatty acids, the essential acid in our body and brains, is rampant in this country. Over 95% of study participants had low levels of omega-3 fatty acids. There are thousands of studies around the world around how omega-3s work, and when it comes to your memory, DHA, a component of omega-3s, is the most important part. In a study published in the Journal of Alzheimer's, they found that when you have high levels of omega-3s in your body, your hippocampus was bigger. Lower amounts and it was smaller. Again, a bigger hippocampus is a great thing. But because we're talking about inflammation being the root cause of your memory issues, I want to go into detail on DHA that's found in omega-3s. Because omega-3s have two components, like I said, EPA and DHA. But when you want to look at your memory loss, you want to look at DHA. DHA is a long-chain omega-3 fatty acid, and it's critical to the development and function of your brain cells. Your body can't make it on its own, so that's why it's so important to supplement. DHA is the most abundant omega-3 in our brains, and it's been shown in repeated double-blind placebo-controlled studies to reduce the inflammation in your brain. It's that straightforward, period. Let me give you an example. One study on 485 healthy adults over 55 who were experiencing mild memory problems had half the participants take DHA each day for 4 weeks. The results were astounding. The people who got DHA performed as well as someone 3 years younger than their actual ages. And in only 4 weeks, they had a 50% reduction in memory loss. The results continued to improve the longer the study went on. In another study published in 2009, there were, this was one of those randomized control studies that scientists love. It showed the effects of 91 South African school children who for 6 months ate a bread spread enriched with DHA. By the end of the study, the children who showed higher blood levels of DHA had significant improvement on cognitive tests and the tests that measured short-term memory and processing speeds. The other students that took the placebo showed no such improvement. In a similar study on 9,448 school children in Gothenburg, Sweden, they were tracked by their academic achievements and their dietary intake of fish. They found that the children who ate more fish per week had an overall average school grade 15% higher than those who consumed less than one serving a week. So let's talk about how to buy a good omega-3, because as I said, not all DHA supplements are created equal. The best source of DHA is from small, wild fish like anchovies and sardines. Farmed fish can have high levels of mercury and lower nutrient density. And the ratio of DHA and EPA is very important. You want a ratio of 1 to 1. Most DHA supplements are really rather low in quality. Either they don't have anywhere near the recommended dosages, or they're from less than reputable manufacturers. And that's why we created our own ultra high quality DHA. It's called Alpha Omega DHA. What's most important is the dosage of DHA. Most studies show that the best dosage for lowering inflammation and helping memory function is at least 500 milligrams a day of DHA. I found only one omega-3 in Whole Foods with this dosage and with small non-farmed fish, and it was $89 a month. That's just crazy. Our Alpha Omega DHA packs a whopping 700 milligrams of DHA per serving. This is an almost unheard of amount of DHA in a fish oil product. And of course, it has a ratio of 1 to 1 DHA to EPA. Our manufacturer certifies every batch with the International Fish Oil Standards. The International Fish Oil Standards is a program that uses a third-party testing and certification program for fish oils. The IFOS sets the world's highest standards for purity, potency, and freshness, and we only use wild small fish, no farmed fish, so you don't have to worry about mercury levels. We also use a special manufacturing process that distills the oil at a molecular level, so you get consistent purity without any fishy odor taste, no fish burps. Plus, it's GMO free. Kelly Buchanan says, I did feel a boost in cognitive functionality. I felt like I was able to focus more easily on most tasks, and it genuinely seemed like my memory was working better than ever before. Instead of taking 4 to 5 seconds to recall some relevant piece of information like someone's name I had just met, my brain felt like it went to work more quickly, and I was able to recall information in 1 to 2 seconds. Harvard Medical School doctor Andrew Stoll suggests every so often scientists really do discover a substance of transformative power, one with the ability to cure the previously incurable and improve the quality of life for the rest of us. Omega-3 fatty acids, a component of simple fish oil, once so prevalent in our diets but now largely absent, could be such a substance. Normally we retail our alpha mega DHA for $69, which is an amazing deal considering our nearest competitor, who isn't IFOS certified by the way, sells their fish oil for $89 per bottle. But because you've stuck with me for the last hour or so, which tells me you are very committed to reducing inflammation in your brain and improving your memory, we're gonna give it to you today for only $49. You get an instant 29% savings on Alpha Mega DHA, which will last you an entire month. This full 30-day supply of Alpha Mega DHA will start to repair the damage to your memory and combat that inflammation we keep talking about. We'll also give you the tools to measure your memory success so you can see the difference in writing. And even better, if you order a 4-month supply, you'll get each bottle for only $41.65 a bottle, for a total savings of 39%. That's only $1.34 a day. That's way less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, which of course increases your inflammation. And I'll guarantee your order. Here is my promise to you, with a special offer that only you get with this workshop. If you try your full order of Alpha Mega DHA and your memory tests haven't improved, I'll give you 100% of your money back for up to 120 days, guaranteed. You will love it and see your inflammation go down as well as see your memory improved. You will be thrilled, or you'll get 100% of your money back, even if you've taken the whole bottle. I'm also going to give you a copy of my popular book with your order, The Brain Owner's Manual, 3 simple solutions for quickly boosting your memory. There are over 45,000 copies of this book in print, and it normally retails for $14.95, but it's yours for free with your order today. It gives you a detailed action plan to start doing the things I talked about today, as well as a memory test to see how your memory is functioning today. This test was created by world-renowned neuroscientist Dr. Majid Fatui, and we're using it with his permission. One customer said that this book gave her the motivation to really follow through on the action plans from this workshop. And with every order today of Alpha Mega DHA, just for being on this workshop, we're going to give you our Memory Mastery Series program. Over 10 days, I'll take you through this video series masterclass, where I'm going to share some of my most powerful strategies for overcoming short-term memory issues. In the Memory Mastery Series program, you'll learn completely new techniques for improving your memory today. This isn't about preventing dementia, although these techniques may help to do that too. It's about being sharp as a tack today. It's about learning what to do in those moments that you really need to remember something on this spot, like when you're trying to find your car in a parking garage, or when you lost something like your keys. What you can do when you can't remember someone's name, someone's walking straight towards you and you get all flushed because you just can't remember their name, even though you know what it is, but it's somewhere in there, you just can't reach it. The Memory Mastery series will show you in a few simple, fun videos how to do all that and more. And of course, we give you printable action plans to implement just like we did in this workshop. And if you take your Alpha Mega DHA and follow the Memory Mastery series program, I guarantee you your memory and overall health will be better 30 days from now. We normally sell this program for $49 alone, but it's yours today for free. And as a special bonus to those of you on this workshop, we're going to give you free domestic shipping. You really have nothing to lose and everything to gain. We just could not have made this easier for you. Again, you see, our mission is to help 1 million people improve their memories. And so we're going to do everything in our power, including giving you 100% of our knowledge to do so. Alpha DHA is the flame retardant that is going to put out that inflammation in your brain, and the DHA is going to make your memory sharp as a tack. If Alpha Mega DHA doesn't clear your memory fog and reduce the inflammation in your brain, if it doesn't take you by the hand, step by step, to end those embarrassing moments of forgetfulness, or if it fails to help you be confident in your memory, then understand you'll get 100% of your money back, no questions asked. But we went on back order 3 times last year with this offer, and unfortunately, it does take us almost 2 months to get more of this inventory in. So I recommend being one of the first to order to make sure there's enough supply. I'll even give you a copy of our Better Sleep Report. That report digs even deeper on how to solve your sleep problems. Usually we sell this for $37, but I want to give it to you as well with your order today, just for being on this webinar for free. So as you can see, all the risk is squarely on my shoulders. So here's how to order right now. Click on the Boost My Memory button to the right now, and then enter memory in the coupon code section, where you'll save an additional 10% on your complete order today. This is good for the next 2 hours only. And don't forget, with every order, you'll get your supply of Alpha Mega DHA shipped out the same day or the next business day if it's after 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll get free domestic shipping, your copy of the Brain Owner's Manual, 3 simple solutions for quickly boosting your memory. This is a $14.95 value you're going to get for free today. You'll get a copy of our Better Sleep Report, a $37 value. Our Memory Mastery Series program, a $49 value, which totals $115.95 in bonuses for free when you order through this workshop today. So click on the Yes, I want to boost my memory button now. And don't forget to use coupon code MEMORY to save 10%. Because remember, every minute you wait is another brain cell that dies and another memory forgotten. So thank you all so much for your time today. I had so much fun. I'm seeing the chats go by in the corner of my eye over here. I know Russell's been working, typing his little fingers. I loved the engagement. I hope you all are able to walk away with an action plan that you can do today to boost your memory. So thank you again for being here. If you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A if they didn't get answered, or you can email me personally at julial@simplesmartscience.com. You can call us at 888-503-2911. We're happy to answer your questions. We get back to everybody within 24 hours, except on weekends. We have to rest our brains too. But I appreciate you being here today. I hope you learned a ton, and thank you so much for being here.